Hi, welcome to Chamber Connection. I'm Candice Lee. I'm the president of the Towns County Chamber of Commerce right here in Young Harris in Hiawassee. And as I promised you at the last show, we've got a guest that was on the last show telling us a little bit about a really great program that's offered here in our region as well as our community. Amy Rosser, who is the executive director of the Towns County Family Connection, been there a long time, and I'm going to let her tell you exactly how long, has a program that is doing great things with our youth, and I'm gonna read it. Amy wrote it down for me, so I won't get it wrong, and hopefully I can read it the correct way. Enotah Juvenile Family Therapy Program under the Enotah Judicial Circuit. And I know that's a big name for a program, but it needs a big name because it is that important to the kids in our area and the kids in the region that the Judicial Circuit serves. So I'm going to let Amy take it from here, and we'll recap a little bit about what we started last time. We were talking about a program that's fairly new, not real new, but it's new to everybody that hadn't heard about it, because it was the first time last month when we were taping the other show. I had no idea you were doing this, had no idea, and it's so big. I mean, it's so big. It's such a good thing for this region. So tell us a little bit about it.
Great. Thank you for having me. The Enotah Juvenile Family Therapy Program is in its 5th year, and we started really through the Enotah Juvenile Judge, who is now Judge Jeremy Clow. 5 years ago, it was Judge Jerry Bruce, and he contacted me and said, you know, hey, we want to work together. We really have a huge incarceration issue for juveniles in Georgia. And so Georgia's response to that, what are we going to do in Georgia to reduce the juvenile incarceration rate? And that would be short-term placements in, say, regional youth detention facilities is what we're talking about. And so we began 5 years ago working on this effort, and the Enotah Judicial Circuit is Towns, Union, Lumpkin, and White counties.
Okay.
And our effort is to reduce those felony charges that are among juveniles 12 to 18, ages 12 to 18, in those 4 counties. And we work in partnership with Judge Jeremy Clow, who covers this circuit. We work with the other Family Connection counties that are involved. They're on our steering committee. Okay. And we work with Union County Commissioner's Office. They act as our accountability and fiscal agent.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that, because if you get money for this program, which I know you have received money, but it's for a lot of the programs that are just like this in the state of Georgia, somebody has to be your, keep the checkbook.
Yes.
So you got Union County to do that for you, which is great. So, and of course, it's one of the counties in the Judicial Circuit. Before we go any further, and I've just got to ask this, I know it's not part of the program or has a lot to do with anything, but where's Rabun County? Are they don't fall into our Enotah?
No, they're not in our judicial circuit,
okay.
But Rabun County is in our region. So in Family Connection, we operate with regions, and they are in our region, Region 2.
Okay.
And we work with them and the director there,
okay.
I see.
Yeah, and I was interested because we've got 2 counties that are over the mountain, White and Lumpkin. And we say over the mountain. Nobody looking at a map knows it's over the mountain, but it is over the mountain. And then, of course, Towns and Union. And I was just thinking, we've got 1 more county still in the state of Georgia, so I was wondering if they fell under this program, but they're not right now.
No.
Okay. So the juveniles that are incarcerated, which I'm just going to say the kids that are in jail, right, that are serving time somewhere for something they did, where do they normally go? What is the facility for, if there were kids in Towns and Union, what facility would they use, or where would they put them to serve their time?
Generally, it would be the Regional Youth Detention Facility, and I believe that's in Gainesville.
Okay, correct.
And that would be a stint. They would serve some time in that facility, and that's what we're trying to reduce, the amount of time that they're serving in a placement such as the what people generally refer to it as the RYDC, the Regional Youth Detention Facility.
Okay. So when the former judge approached you 5 years ago, what did you say? Did you just embrace this with open arms and say, "Oh, I've got all the time in the world. I can take care of this," because I know how busy you are. So
it was fascinating to me.
Okay.
It's something that was very new to me. I had many meetings with Judge Bruce to say, "You've really got to walk me through step by step what happens." You know, the court system is just so detailed, and there's so many pieces to it. And it was really something that was quite new to me, as far as when someone has a charge, the different things that can happen to the point that they get to the place where they're charged, and then what happens after that.
Right.
And so from there, we just really began. I wrote the grant and we received it. We were one of 34 in the state of Georgia. There's now, to my understanding, something in place in all the court systems in Georgia.
Good.
Because it's so important to Georgia. And they're not necessarily under our same funded. We are grant funded. We're federally funded under the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council, CJCC. And but there's something in every court system, it's my understanding, to address this issue so Georgia can really work on what do we do, how do we not just put them somewhere, but how do we really work to get, you know, beneath what's really happening and what's really going on with our juveniles.
Well, and I think I had asked you to speak at Rotary, and hopefully you're telling a lot of other groups about this too, but we had talked about getting to kids earlier so that they don't evolve into an adult criminal. And I don't want to say criminal because it's not always a crime maybe they've committed, but it's just, it could be drug use, or it could be a lot of things. I know that. But I think we were talking and you were trying to explain that starting earlier with these kids prevents a lot of other things from happening. And I think that's what this is all about, isn't it? To try to get them while they're young, or get them back on the right track.
To get to the root of what's going on, is there some other issue besides what has presented itself as a charge?
Okay.
And to get to the root of really what's happening and how we can sort of put them on a different course, hopefully, to, you know, reach their highest potential as a juvenile and an adult.
Okay.
That's what we want.
So the first year, 5 years ago, you were approached by, and then you wrote the grant, the original grant.
Yes.
You received the grant, and I know this takes time, so it's not just you wrote the grant and got the grant the next day, because I know that how long that takes to do all that. So at that point, when you received the grant, what did you do at that point? Did you know you were going to have to hire somebody, or that you were going to need help doing this?
Yes, that was, you know, one of the things that happened 5 years ago. It was exciting because it was new all over the state of Georgia. So we really started at the state of Georgia. We really all started on the same playing field and really kind of by trial and error, you know, built what we have now. So, you know, number one, I'm very proud of that. But we did know that we were going to hire, and so the model that we use, any juvenile that enters our program, they have to agree along with their family that they're going to go through an intensive in-home therapy.
Okay.
And that lasts 4 to 6 months. It's not a couple of sessions and they're good to go.
Right.
And so you mentioned this earlier, but we had to really think through our geographic piece because we are divided by the mountain.
Right.
And so what would normally work with maybe a therapist and a case manager covering all those counties, it didn't work for us because, you know, we're just so sort of geographically divided. So we do have a therapist and an assistant to the therapist on either side of the mountain, and they're part-time. There's 4 of them, and they are wonderful. They are so dedicated. This is, you know, what they want to do, and they want to help families. And so it's just a joy really for me to kind of just be involved in it, and they're the ones that really do the hard work.
Okay. So at what point did Kelly come in? Let's introduce Kelly. We've got Kelly Sykes. And Kelly is familiar to a lot of us that have known Towns County Family Connection for as long as I have. I shook her hand and I said, I don't know if we've met, but yes, we have met. I met Kelly a long time ago when she was working in another program with Towns County Family Connection. So it's great to see an old face, a face that I'm familiar with, but it's also good for you because you were familiar with working with Kelly.
Yes.
So it's a great partnership and it's a great relationship. At what point did Kelly come in?
From the beginning.
Okay.
So Kelly's been with us from the start.
Okay.
And then the therapist that covers Lumpkin White has been with us. We were just talking about this. I want to say 3 to 4 years.
Okay.
Kelly's assistant has been with us 3 years, and we have a baby that's new on the Lumpkin White side. She is with us for maybe 2 months now.
Oh gosh,
yeah.
and
she has just really, oh my goodness, you would think she's been with us forever. So
that's
yeah,
good.
it's wonderful. Yeah.
Okay. So Kelly, what's your title?
I'm the family therapist for Towns and Union County.
Okay, and therapist meaning, are you a licensed therapist?
I hold a master's degree in clinical psychology, and I'm also certified through the multidimensional family therapy program, which is the therapy model that we use.
Oh, that's crazy, because did you have to attain that?
Yes.
So you had to go through training.
Oh,
no,
yes.
and I mean, it's not
Yes.
just like getting your master's and saying, okay, I'm a therapist. You know,
Right.
you have to go through extra training
Correct.
to work in this program.
Correct.
So that's why this thing works so good, and I just love it, because you had the experience of Family Connection. You were already working with kids. You were already working with families. One of your goals is, as a collaborative, is work with everybody, and I think that's hard. It's not always easy to work with everybody.
No.
And I'm laughing because I have to work with everybody too. So anyway, it's the extra training you guys went through to make sure that this program works. That's what I think is so remarkable. And thank goodness somebody finally woke up and said, we need this, or let's try it, because they didn't know it was going to work, right? They had no idea 5 years ago.
That's right, and we're excited for the end of this year because it's still so new that they haven't yet gathered the 5-year data. So at the end of this June, our evaluators, the people that evaluate our program, which is Carl Vinson Institute out of Athens.
Yes.
So they are going to work on what that 5-year looks like and how we have from the start to 5 years what has happened and how we've done.
Well, hold that thought, because this is great. We're going to take a break. We've got to take a break. And when we come back, we're going to walk through what the juvenile goes through at each step and the results that we think we're going to hear from. So let's take a break. You're watching Chamber Connection. I'm Candice Lee, the president of the Towns County Chamber of Commerce, and we will be right back. Hi, welcome back. You're watching Chamber Connection. I'm Candice Lee, the president of the Towns County Chamber of Commerce, and today we're following up with Amy Rosser, who is the executive director of Towns County Family Connection, and Kelly Sykes, who is a licensed therapist, and I am not about to tell them how many letters there are after your name, because I'm sure I would mess it up. But anyway, we're so excited to hear about the program to help juveniles that have been incarcerated and what to do and how to stop that number from growing. So at the break, before the break, we were talking about coming back and going through the steps that you go through and Kelly goes through with a child that's been incarcerated, and we've got 15 minutes to do that, so we're going to go relatively fast, but because we want to talk about what we think the results are to date after 5 years, right? What we think they are. So you start.
Okay.
You start with what happens first.
Okay, what happens first, and Kelly's probably better at answering this than myself, but we work with the court system.
Okay.
We also work very closely with Department of Juvenile Justice. They are our buds in this program. They're like this to us, and we appreciate them. We appreciate their work. So Department of Juvenile Justice would be in contact with our therapist and our assistants to say, you know, there's a juvenile coming up I think would fit your program.
Okay.
And that's kind of how it gets the ball rolling. Or we would attend court to see if, you know, there's cases on the docket that are coming up that would fit our model and fit our program.
Okay. So
Yes.
at that point, do you go to court? Do you watch them go through their sentencing when the child is sentenced, or you do?
I'll let Kelly answer that.
Okay, Kelly.
I don't.
Okay.
Yes, we do. There's really kind of two ways that this happens. Our side of the mountain, as we were talking about earlier, the other side and this side of the mountain, they're a little bit different. Our side of the mountain, we tend to, we show up at court
Okay.
when they have their court, and we meet with the family. The judge decides, you know, yes, along with DJJ and the ADA who's there from the district attorney's office, and then we meet together and it's signed on their probation order,
Okay.
and then we go from there. Sometimes that happens on the other side of the mountain in White and Lumpkin counties, and sometimes it just happens that the probation officer refers directly. They have larger numbers on the other side of the mountain
Okay.
sometimes than we do, so those are kind of both ways that we get our referrals.
Okay. So once you have a child referred, you have already met with the family. You have met with the juvenile. You've met with the family. You've explained the program.
Not yet, usually.
Okay, so you haven't.
Usually we meet them at court.
Okay.
Then we set up another time to come and meet with them.
Okay, that's what, because I know they've got to get all their life kind of back in order from whatever they're
Right.
dealing with, bringing the child back home or whatever
Yes.
it takes to get
Right.
them just out of the court, the actual court. So then you set up another meeting.
We sit down, we talk about the program
Okay.
in detail. We have them sign a whole bunch of papers.
Okay.
And then that's when the family therapy starts
Okay.
after that.
Okay, so they sign on and you tell them this is going to be a 4 to 6 month program. And you tell them it's rigorous because you're going to also involve the family. So it's not
Correct.
only you talking to the juvenile,
Correct.
you are actually talking to the family about changes that possibly need to be made.
Correct.
Okay, so
We're a very intense program. I mean, for 4 to 6 months, we almost really become a part of their family.
okay.
We work around the needs of the family.
Okay.
So our job as a family therapist is to build an alliance with the adolescent, to build an alliance with the parent, and then work with the family as a whole.
Okay.
And so the change, the whole concept behind multidimensional family therapy is that the change comes in the family sessions.
Okay.
That's where change comes, and that's what we're trying to do. But we work individually with the parent, the child, and then the family as a whole,
Okay.
and then the different community agencies that they may be involved with.
Okay.
School, DJJ, perhaps DFACS, if DFACS is involved. Whoever they may be involved with the community, we also do that as well.
So you make home visits.
Correct.
You make a lot of home visits, I
Correct.
can imagine.
We are in
And
their home.
When you say family as a whole, you're talking siblings too. So
Sometimes.
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 Okay.
It
And I
depends
wondered
on-
about that.
It depends on what the issue is in the family.
Okay.
When we say family, we're mainly referring to the adolescent that has the charges and the caregivers. It could be one parent, it could be a single parent, it could be two parents together, or it could be grandparents. We have a lot of children that have come through our program that live with grandparents or have been adopted
Yeah, I
by
guess so.
grandparents.
Well, and when you're talking about a child being incarcerated, is it usually the second or third offense? Have they gone through a couple of...
So this was a surprising thing, kind of an eye-opener for me when I first became involved with this project, is that a lot of times the juveniles that are agreeing to enter into our program, they may have been involved with Department of Juvenile Justice for some time. They may have had other charges
Okay.
that weren't necessarily felony charges, or they've worked with Department of Juvenile Justice in the past to, you know, kind of, they maybe have been on probation, or there's maybe been some sanctions involved for them. And so, you know, oftentimes there are juveniles that have been involved with the system
before
us.
you get to them.
Yes.
So once you start the program and you actually see progress, or you don't see progress, but you finish the 4 to 6 months with them, right? Whether you see good or bad, whatever you're tracking, whether
Sometimes as we go along in the process, we may come across and suspect that maybe they have some mental health issues
okay,
that have not been diagnosed or addressed.
okay,
And so sometimes if that happens, we will refer them out to, because we're family therapy, we do address mental health issues through the family change,
okay,
but we are not mental health therapy. So if we see, for instance, if a child has depression, if we think they have some depression symptoms, we'll refer them to a mental health practice that can address that depression.
Okay.
Sometimes there are some mental health diagnoses that come back that we then have to just refer them out.
at that point.
At that point,
Okay.
because they're out of the scope of what our program
Okay, so
deals with.
that's one scenario that the child moves on because of additional help that you can't provide or whatever. But
Correct.
say after the 4 to 6 month program, you get to the point where you're going to write what you found, your consensus on the family. So then at that point, you let them. You're just done with them, and then you find out if it's worked over time, or how do you know that it's a success? Tell me, because I know we're going to run out of time, and I hate this. So.
Georgia classifies it a success if they don't re-enter within 12
Okay.
months.
Okay,
so
within a year.
That's how we that's how we model success, is through what Georgia models success.
Okay.
Success to us may look very different. You know, a family that are able to communicate and
Right.
talk, a juvenile that is, you know, carrying a job and a school load, you know, doing well, we consider that as success.
And I do too. And I think that anytime you can make a difference in the family life, you have reached a success point. So
Sometimes as a clinical therapist, I find it successful if we have uncovered a mental health issue
Right.
that gets diagnosed and they get the help that, you know.
could change that child's
Exactly.
life. That could have been something. It will change their life. So what do we think after? How many juveniles have been through your program?
So today there's been 64.
Okay.
And that's not the number that we're currently involved with. So the number's maybe just a little bit higher. But
Okay.
So 5 years, 64 juveniles, ages 12 to 18.
Okay.
And we're just super pleased about that number.
So,
and
and you
helping.
think you've helped 64 or 60 out of 64 or something close to that?
We
or?
think that we've made a difference, and you know, it'll be interesting when we get the hard data back, you know, from our evaluators to see really what that breakdown looks like, and
Okay.
and what has happened since then. You know, have the juveniles really stayed on the course? Has there been some setback? You know, things like that. But you know, and Kelly can maybe answer as well, but you know, as far as from my perspective, I couldn't be happier or more pleased. It's been one of the most challenging things I've ever been involved in,
but most
and it's
rewarding.
been one of the most rewarding things I've done in my almost 20 years with Family Connection.
You know, too, and I think a success can be measured by just somebody giving attention to that family and showing them you care. I mean, they could think that's something that they would have never received if their son had not been in trouble Do you know what I mean? Somebody
Oh,
stepped in
absolutely.
and said, hey,
yes.
we want to help. And I think that a lot of times that's all people need is, you know, like a big hug for the family that, hey, we're here if you need help. So I think I just think that's a success too. But so in June, I'm seeing another show because I think
we would be so happy to come back.
and I think we need to. I think we need to bring Kelly and you back and let's talk about what the report was after you receive it in June and maybe talk about really pinpoint some of the successes or where the kids are now. Some of the kids, what are they doing? Like you said, maybe have jobs. Some of them are, like you said, they're 17, right? They're 17 years old. They could be, after 5 years, they could be married with a family of their own. So
actually, I know of one of our clients, one of our very first clients who actually is married and has a child and is doing very well right now.
that's great.
I mean, so yes, I mean.
I don't know. I just think that's I don't know. That to me is, I just think anybody that's actually showing somebody that they care is huge.
I think that's
thank
a lot of
goodness,
it too.
like I said before the break, thank goodness somebody thought of this. Let's try to help these kids that are in jail. Let's try to help these kids not commit a crime or, you know, just, and we don't know what they're in for. I don't want to really know what they're in for because I can just imagine. It's sad. You're talking about young kids that are out there doing things that they.
And you know, many of these kids, there's issues that have been there in the family that has been like the elephant in the room that nobody's talked about.
Yeah.
So a success to me also in this program is that we get the family together and we talk about that elephant in the room. It's no longer it's no longer, you know,
A hush hush subject.
right.
Yeah.
We talk about it and they get to express their feeling about it. That's the whole that's the key of the whole program is getting the family together to talk about whatever that family's issue is.
Is there anything anybody can do if they want to know more? I mean, is this like public
Certainly,
knowledge and
yes.
they can call you?
Certainly.
Okay, so they can call you and then I guess reach Kelly through you. So tell everybody if there's a website or if there's where they can get more information or just your phone number would be great.
Amy Rosser, Towns County Family Connection. My office is located at Towns County Schools, and my number is 706-896-4131, extension 1233, or ARGIBBY at townscountyschools.org.
And I've got that information. You can always call me at the chamber to get that information. But you guys will be back in July, whatever.
Great.
We'll just say we'll give you
Great.
time to settle into the
Super.
results. But
Yeah, we would love
let's
that.
do that because I think this is exciting, and I think it's time everybody knew what you guys were doing because
you.
Thank you.
it's important. It's so important. So thanks for watching today. Mark your calendar, June or July of 2019, and we'll have both of them back. I'm Candice Lee, and you have been watching Chamber.